I also learned something, and this was probably 20 years ago. You go through these stages. When you're young, you got to get your academic career in. So you get the first credential. And then you start to decide how you don't want to be a hamburger anymore. And that's kind of like phase one. And then you go through the stage of when everything you do is motivated by acquisition. You want to make as much money as you can, and so you can buy things. You want to have a nice house, or a nice condo, you want to have a nice car, you want to have nice clothes. And it's all that brand-driven bullshit.
Yeah.
But you got to go through that stage.
Right.
And then ultimately there's a point in your life when you realize that doesn't really mean anything. What means everything is what you experience with your life and what you're able to do to impact other people.
Yep.
And I was with a couple of guys in Alaska, and we just didn't know what we were going to do. We just flew to Anchorage, got in a pickup and drove 10 hours, and then got in a boat and went and put out a tent. And, I wasn't a hunter, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was sleeping with a 45 on my hip, and I didn't know how to shoot it for the grizzly bears.
Yeah.
And one day we had this bush pilot take us over to one of the islands where the Kodiak bears are.
Yeah.
And I said, and he was really articulate, had an English accent, and he talks about the economy and world health. What the hell are you doing being a bush pilot? And he said, it's a good question, but what I want to do is be able to sit on my front porch someday when this little boy rides by on his bicycle. And he said, sir, what did you do with your life? And I can say, son, come up here. I can't wait to tell you what I did with my life. And I called my wife from Alaska. I said, a whole different deal when I get back. I have the watch I wear is still the watch I got my senior in Michigan, a football watch. And I said, the guy next to me has a Rolex. And I'll be damned if his time on the Rolex doesn't say the same thing as this watch that costs $15.95.
Yeah.
What the hell did I need to spend $10,000 on a watch for?
Yep.
And that Ferrari he's driving, in my Impala, it got me to the other place I needed to go just as fast, probably safer, and a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And so we started making decisions about what we wanted to do with our time. And do we want to buy something or do we want to go somewhere?
Yep.
And have a memory? And we kind of changed our life. And then the charitable things we did became things we started to do for other people so that we made a difference. And my focus initially was mostly kids, but now it's started to branch out a little bit beyond that.